1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Beautiful Friday morning. Gosh, the weather is just so beautiful. What you have today is what you're going to have all weekend long. So we're not complaining about the weather, not here in Ocala anyway. It's just really nice out there. I think 85, the expected high, so it's not really even going to get that hot. It's just going to be just perfect if you want to go swimming. This is usually the weekend I go swimming. For the first time in the year is the Easter weekend.
Yeah, me too.
There's so many memories go back to when I was a young dad, when my son was little, and I remember that transformation time, the teenage years, the especially the upper teenage years. 13 wasn't so bad. 17, I felt like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, and where are we? We're starting to be in two different worlds, and then it was almost like we were driving down this beautiful road. And then we somehow reached a fork in the road and went in two different tunnels, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then when he was maybe 20, 21, then we merged together, and now he's almost 31. And so we have a great relationship. I know you have the same with your children, Robin, and I guess we all have our own stories about raising teenagers. I never quite grasped what the word tweens means.
No.
The book we have is written by Douglas Haddad. He's on the phone. He's the recipient of the 2016-2017 Teacher of the Year Award by the Simsbury School District. He has written the book that we're going to talk about called The Ultimate Guide to Raising Teens and Tweens, Strategies for Unlocking Your Child's Full Potential. Douglas Haddad, good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, great. Thanks to have me on. I'm so honored to be here. And you know that what you're talking about with your son there at 17, that was called The Fork in the Road to Independence.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
I know. And you know what got me through that? I remembered myself at 17, and that made it a lot. I could understand it a lot better when I was seeing what he was doing. I was thinking, gosh, when I was 17, I was nowhere. I was gone. My parents didn't see me at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. You carved the road to independence. You're the one that created. You paved the way.
I sort of kind of did, yep. Yeah. But I mean, as a parent, and in my case, I just had one son. Robin had two children. But I mean, as a teacher, you have hundreds of kids that you're working with, right?
Oh my goodness. I've taught 17 years, and I've taught in this age range over 2,000 children from all different backgrounds as a teacher, as a coach, as a mentor, as a tutor. I've been, public speaker. I actually traveled across the nation, went out to California, spoke with educators, and met all kinds of people in the realm of education. So yeah, I've been around it pretty much my whole life as a kid, and then getting out of college and becoming a teacher. So I haven't really ever graduated from this age range.
So if you could go in a time machine back to the younger self, the first year of teaching, what advice would you give that person? Like, what did you do wrong, or did you not do as skillfully, maybe is a better way to say it?
I think I was more focused on keeping classroom control. I was more focused on just not the child's emotional needs as much. I was more focused on the academic rigor and holding them to the line. I mean, I had one girl in my class that she said, excuse me, Mr. Haddad, she goes, I just want to let you know, we're not in college here. We're middle school kids.
Smart kid.
And that was a wake-up call to say, there's more than just being this disseminator of knowledge. You have to also be like a big brother and like a role model to them and be available as well emotionally.
And do you think that same, that what you learned as a teacher, does that apply to parents as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's really all about what I call the 3 C's. Connecting with a child, showing care, and showing compassion. That's really what kids want to know. They don't really care how much you know. They want to know that you care about them. And once you have that, then that opens up all kinds of doors early on and then later on. And as you said, you and your son, you sort of merge back at 21, and now him being 31, he knows, you've cared for him his whole life. And he had to, though, break away, from you. And he had to test boundaries. And many kids do. They strive for independence. They want to, feel understood about something. They want to be their own person. So for a parent to just be there, actively listen to a child, and always them knowing that you care, that's really fundamental to it all. And I learned as a teacher, that's the big connection. I think that's what I was asked. They said, well, what do you think the kids think about you? They asked me in an interview for the Teacher of the Year. And I said, I think and I hope they know that I really, truly care. And that's the foundation of parenting.
And each teacher is different, as is each student is different, especially the genders, the male and female, because I know I've raised a son and a daughter, and they both have their own wants and needs and issues.
Oh, Robin, you're right. I mean, each child, it doesn't matter what gender, they all have their own unique learning styles. They have their own unique needs. And I can tell you as a teacher, too, I've seen among boys and girls, I've seen so much change, whether we attribute that to technology or whether we attribute that to just a change in the times. I've written this book called The Ultimate Guide to Raising Teens and Tweens from a perspective of two things. Part one in the book talks about the child unlimited principles necessary to apply as a parent to unlock a child's full potential, and then utilize them in part two of the child limiting challenges that could prevent a child from becoming unlimited, and really how to prevent and intervene in those issues. And sort of whether you're a boy or a girl, I've seen that in order to become a smart, successful, and self-disciplined adult, what I call the 3 S's, you need to become a good problem solver, you need to be able to effectively communicate, and I think the communication skills in writing and speaking verbally have really taken a back seat to the text message or just being able to sort of a cop-out to technology. So that's another thing. And then the third thing is really having good coping mechanisms to be able to handle adversity. Because, again, I think in today's day and age, being able not to resort to self-destructive behaviors or just be able to put something on social media or just in that way sort of bail out. I mean, we've seen it with the 11-year-old that unfortunately they think took his life out in Michigan because of that 13-year-old girl who maliciously used technology. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, we
exactly.
did.
That was awful.
So, I mean, this is where right now, if I were a parent, I would teach my child flat out at that age range. I would say, don't believe everything you hear. And first off, I think the mother even said she didn't even get her child a cell phone. So he went, he earned his own money, he got a cell phone, but he didn't have necessarily the coping mechanisms or that critical mindset, probably that was desired to be able to handle that. And that's where open lines of communication. He said, I'm afraid if mom finds out that I have a girlfriend, then she's going to, do something to ground me or whatever. And that's where, you need that open line of communication to prevent from things like this from happening.
Oh my God, that was such a tragic story. Yeah, and if you can, and the effective adult, whether it's a parent or a teacher, the effective adult who is able to get through to a child heading in that direction will have a success story that they may never know about. It's going to be one of those things where you don't even know that you prevented somebody from killing themselves.
Oh, on that note, it was my first year teaching. Speak about it too, Larry, is that I had a child who was in my class. I still remember this day. I mean, it was my afternoon class. I think it was my second to last class. And I was talking about the topic of bullying, and I was talking about some of my experiences, what I dealt with. And it was away from the content of science that I teach children. And I just mentioned a life story and how, don't let anybody hold you down. It's not how many times you get down. It's a matter of rising up to the challenge and persevering through adversity. And I got a message from his mom indicating that I saved his life. He was going to go home and take his own life. So that right there said, wow, the first teacher, you can make a difference.
And we've seen, parents, too, need to keep themselves in check, because we've seen girls growing up in a household where the mom, manipulated everything with her feminine wiles. So the daughters go out there and they think they can get anything they want just, by batting their eyes and saying, oh, woe is me. And that works. And it's just such a shame that the parents intentionally do this, and then their children are mirroring them.
That's it. Well, parents are, I always say, the root of all evil or the root of all success at such a young age, because these kids are so shapeable and formidable in so many aspects. So for parents to show the way as role models is paramount to any behavior they desire in their child. And it's only going to do a child service or disservice based on how they display their actions.
Douglas Haddad is our guest. He is the author of the book that we're focusing on. If you're looking at the podcast, we are streaming. He's not in the studio, so we don't have a camera on him. We have instead a picture of the book cover. It's The Ultimate Guide to Raising Teens and Tweens: Strategies for Unlocking Your Child's Full Potential. Again, Douglas Haddad, Haddad. I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about being a teacher, and how you discovered that it wasn't just about disseminating information, but it had a whole load of other things, being a counselor, being a listener, etc. When you realized that, when you finally embraced the idea that, okay, I'm not just here to give information, I'm here for a couple of different things, did that make it easier or harder to do your job?
Oh, that's a great question. A little bit of both. I think I was able to better connect with children. I saw that they were emotionally, with me being emotionally invested, they saw that, and then they were as much connected with me. But then that also opened up where, wow, things became really personal, where I took an interest to a child even deeper. What are your interests in life? I started creating activities actually during like a homeroom time about throwing around this penguin. It would be like a sort of a heart talk in a way, where a child would be able to express, well, let's go around the room and say your name and say what your greatest fear is, and how can we overcome that. Compliment somebody on something that you know about that person. So I would get into like sort of in-depth conversations, and I would get to know the child more, but then that would also open up more opportunity for me to know more of these issues, which in the long run, to answer your question, it made it easier, because ultimately I just want to be able to make a lasting impact on a child's life positively, and that's the ultimate way to do it, is to make that connection.
One of the things that is very unique about you is that you're no stranger to the stage. You are involved in theatrical performances and in film and television. You sing, you play the piano, you write your own music, and you've got this air of self-confidence about you that you take to the stage, but you also bring to the stage of life, and that self-confidence is very, very important to children.
Oh, it is, and that's the thing, really to model that. And I was taught early on, not necessarily if you're going to have all the answers, but you want to confidently go forward and display them, because you're all going to make mistakes along the way. But I could tell you, as being involved in acting, on stage and all that, and it really taught me sometimes you got one shot to do something, and you just go forward with it. If you make a mistake, you just continue going forward with confidence. And even on auditions I used to go to, I used to not make every single role. I got a number of them over the years, but it just shows you a way to handle rejection, handle adversity. Even this book I'm here talking to you today about, this was 3 years in the making, and I had to go through a series of people to try to find an agent, and my agent went through a series of publishers. So for kids to see that and be able to utilize things like that is only to their advantage, to see that you can be anything you want to be, and you could be your best self, and don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fall.
Obviously, a parent is going to be with a child for their whole life. A teacher is going to be with a child physically for a year, maybe, or a school year, maybe more than that, if it depends. But I think the lessons and the influence will be with that child forever. I mean, we all have things that we think about all the time, and we say, oh gosh, I remember a teacher taught me this or said this. I have a few examples of my own. I'm sure we all do. I wanted to compare teaching just for a second to, and maybe this is for parenting also, to being on a stage. I am not an actor, but I play one on the radio. No.
No, you're genuine, sir.
Robin and I play music sometimes on stage, and not too much anymore. But when we were younger, we did it for children a lot. And we had this switcher thing on with us, that you push one button and it made these lights come on, and another button and made these lights come on. And we noticed that when you're talking to children, if you have a story and it's a football story, there's a few lights that'll go on in the minds of those children that are interested. And if you're talking about music, there's a few other lights that will go on with other kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you used that as a teacher, like you have to know, Like, let's say you want to teach about, 4 plus 4 equals 8. Okay, but you have 4 football players and 4 football players. Now you have 8 football players.
Yeah.
And those kids got that one. And the music kids got 4 trombones and 4 trumpets, and you got 8 instruments. I mean, does that play a role in all of that?
That's one thing you develop over the years as a teacher. It's called differentiated instruction, and you learn that each kid has their own unique learning style. So I would say, to your first point, acting and teaching and parenting are all involve listening, okay, right? So there's that action. But really, acting is reacting. So you're reacting by listening. So no matter what it is you're doing, whether you're playing a role that's not typically your personality in real life, you're still substituting or method acting in that particular character role, and you're going to be listening to whoever you're talking to on stage or on film or in real life, and you're going to appropriately react to the situation. So in my book, I talk about what are the right ways to reflectively listen and react to your child's needs, not be a one-way street, an authoritarian approach. See, here's the thing. I'd say the difference between parenting and teaching is that, yes, you have your child your whole life, so you want to be able to make real smart, wise, sagacious decisions about parenting techniques. You also want to be able to, over your whole lifetime, spend quality time with that child. Yeah. That's where teachers, they'll go home, and they won't be with their students. With a parent, but versus saying, oh, here's some money, you can get what you want, or I'm going to buy you this, buy you that. You can't buy quality time. And then the third thing I'd say is genuine care, interest, patience, and ultimately emotional, physical, and as you know, too, financial support exhibited toward your child throughout their entire life. And a kid knows that, and you're going to raise a real great kid.
In addition to technology, is there anything in the modern world that I didn't have to deal with as a child, or that my son even didn't have to deal with as a child? He's, like I say, 30 now, or going to be 31. I mean, one thing that comes to mind, just to kind of maybe give you an idea of maybe where I think this goes, was sexuality. Sexuality never came up, not in the classroom, not in my home. If any adult ever taught us about sex, it was about the mechanics of it, and then we're done. But there was nothing to deal with transgender, and there was nothing to do with all of those other things that are in the news every day.
That's exactly right, and that's what I was going to say. It's really about issues that discuss tolerance, diversity, and of all the sexuality. We hear about LGBTQ, we hear about issues with transgender bathrooms, and all this stuff that's like, wow. So I would say, and here's the thing that I've proposed actually to my school, and something I'm going to work toward down the road, hopefully throughout many districts, but really incorporating a life skills and success principles course starting at the kindergarten through 12th grade level. So this isn't like foreign knowledge by the time you reach 10th grade. It's like, ooh, it's taboo to talk about different things with sexuality. Kids have learned about it from kindergarten in more of a play form, and then age appropriately scaffold it, so it becomes the norm, and all kids want to feel love. They want to feel accepted in society, and that's the reason why there's so many problems, whether we're adults or kids, because kids and adults don't feel loved or accepted or wrongdoing. Let's face the facts. So when that happens, all of a sudden, it's a peaceful world. Nobody's out. It's not a dog-eat-dog world. Not everybody's out to get the other person. It becomes a whole different paradigm shift, and that's what I want to really incorporate for parents and practicing skills and all that from my book.
Sometimes people, at least in our community, we have some listeners call in and they want to bring back the paddling in our community as far as the discipline goes. I know, to the children. And it's just, why can't we just have an open form of communication with words and talk one-on-one with the child and try to get them to change their mind, or at least get to the crux of the problem where he's acting or she is acting up?
Yeah, Robin, you hit it on the head. It is about effective communication, and it's not about a one-way street of, it's just like in teaching, that's transformed. It's not a one-way approach where the lessons are teacher-directed, where the teacher sits in front of the classroom and lectures the student, or the parent is going to lecture the child without there eventually being some sort of backlash where that could build up resentment, rebellion, more curiosity to go the route that the parent doesn't want the child to go. So it becomes this cascade of problems that could happen. So again, communicating, actively listening, if there is a problem involved, actively listening and mending the problem by saying, well, we know you made this choice. Talk about why you made it, why you shouldn't have made it, and what you'll do next time. So it really comes full circle to resolve the conflict, and the child then is better able to resolve their own conflicts when times get really tough as an adult.
There's some things that are every generation about 16, 17, maybe even younger than that. They grow their hair long. They shave their heads. They have ripped blue jeans. They have pants that hang down below their butt. They have, oh my gosh, I mean, so tattoos now is a popular thing. But it seems to me like it's almost the way, like you pointed out at the very beginning, of wanting to be independent. So I'm going to do I'm doing things differently than my parents' generation did. At that moment, that's the beginning of the fork in the road, isn't it? When you start to see that stuff.
Oh yeah, change in behavior, change in peer groups, change in appearance. You know, you turn on TV. I was watching old videos I used to love NBA basketball, and I don't even think Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen or any of those guys from the Bulls had a single tattoo on them. Nowadays, you look and it's hard to find a guy who doesn't have a tattoo. So kids are getting their messages from music, from movies, from sports figures, from these quote-unquote role models. But ultimately, in the end, it's about the parent. The parent is the primary influencer, whether the parent really believes that or not. Surveys have said, research has shown that they're the most effective means at preventing and intervening at problems and shaping a child for success in the long run.
Douglas Haddad, thank you for being on the show and for doing what you're doing. I know you have to run in about a minute and a half. I have a copy of Douglas's book. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Raising Teens and Tweens. Every aspect of what we've talked about, and then multiply that by 10 or more, and that's what's in the book. Strategies for Unlocking Your Child's Full Potential. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. Douglas, how do we do that?
So they can go to my website, doughaddad.com. They can learn a little bit more about my book. They can go to Amazon to buy the book. It's on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. And for any parents interested as well, I have a program called 30 Days to Finding You and Start Living the Life You Imagine. That's something that can sort of help relieve the stress of day-to-day parenting. That's on my website as well.
I just went to your website. You're a young guy. Wow. Good for you. Look at you. You're a good-looking guy. Oh, you're eating healthy too, aren't you? Look at that.
No wonder you're Teacher of the Year,
Right.
because you really can relate to the students and to their parents and possibly provide a bridge in communication between the two generations.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Larry, for your time today.
Thank you. This is such an important topic. Thank you for being on the air to share it with us. All right, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Matt Wilkerson from Verizon. You work all day, right? So why would you want to spend your night out shopping for that new phone? Well, Marion County, let me and Verizon help you out. I can deliver to your home or office, saving you precious time. Phone, tablets, internet, home phones, even accessories. Whatever you need, we will deliver free of charge. Call me at the store, 352-528-0020. That's 528-0020.
You're going to love your new windows and the immediate energy savings when you work with Renewal by Andersen. You'll experience legendary quality installation. Visit renewalbyandersen.com for a free in-home consultation with the pros. Right now, save 20% on every window and door, plus 20% off installation. No money down, 0% interest, and 0 payments for 12 months with approved credit. Visit renewalbyandersen.com. Renewalbyandersen.com. Offer ends April 30th. License CGC 1524135. Tick-tock. The days fly by, and we find tax season is upon us once again. Not to worry, though. With a reputable CPA firm on your side, you can rest assured that all of your needs will be handled in a professional and thorough manner. Robson, Scribner & Stewart is just that firm. They're there for their clients year-round, not just during tax season, to handle your needs and answer any questions you may encounter. At Robson, Scribner & Stewart, there is no client too small or too large. Their expertise ranges from the single individual to the largest of corporations. Get your return prepared by a professional who will use their years of experience to ensure that your tax return's outcome will leave you in the best possible position. Call them today at 694-4184. Robson, Scribner, and Stewart. They're there for you today. Again, that number is 694-4184. Time is of the essence, so don't delay. 694-4184.
96.3 FM.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370.